Okay, in this video, I'm going to take a look at a topic that is something that comes up regularly from time to time, particularly with mothers of children. Basically, it occurs where the relationship has broken down. The father doesn't play such a big role in the child's life anymore, and maybe off the scene entirely, or maybe availing of access on a regular basis. But sometimes it occurs that the father is just out of the child's life, and basically the mother has full-time care and control of the child, and there is an issue with the name of the child's surname. And sometimes mothers are anxious that when the child begins secondary school, for example, they might want the child to have the same name as themselves and not the father's name. So this video is going to look at your options for changing a child's surname in Irish law. Essentially, there are three methods. One is in the birth register, two is by deed poll, and three is by common usage. The birth register re-registration situation. There's a civil births registration office in Ireland, and then there is one in each county as well. So in Meath, I think it is in Navan, and in Kildare, I think it's in Naas, and there's one, obviously, a main one in Dublin, and so on. But each county will have a civil office for the registration of births and deaths and marriages and so on. So the birth can be re-registered in the register of birth to include the father's name as follows. Both parents, this is a situation now where you might want to include the father's name. Both parents register the birth together using a form CRA9. The mother then can name the father and bring along an acknowledgement from the father that he is the father of the child. The father can bring along a declaration form acknowledging he's the father and a declaration from the mother confirming he's the father, where the mother and father can make a written request on production of a court order which names the father. So this is a situation where there's only one name on the birth certificate of the child, and that is the mother's name. And now, in this particular scenario, what we are talking about is the father becoming named on the birth register, on the register, or the birth certificate of the child will be changed because the register will be changed. And these four ways are ways that it can be done. The birth register, then, you can also change the child's name. So if the parents marry and they both agree to the name change, well, then the surname can be changed in the birth register. Both names, however, must have already been on the birth register as the parents of the child. So the child then takes the name of the father. Changing name by deed poll then is a much more common situation. Rather than looking to have the father registered on the birth certificate or on the birth register, what's more commonly, what I come across more commonly is a situation where the father is no longer on the scene and the mother wants to change the child's name by deed poll. Deed poll essentially involves presenting the deed poll and the child's birth certificate in the deed poll section of Central Office of the High Court. A deed poll is basically a document. It's like an A4 document saying that the name of the child is this, the old name, and now the new name of the child is this. So children between the ages of 14 and 18 can sign a deed poll themselves, provided they have the consent of both parents. Children under 14 will need to have the deed poll signed on their behalf by a guardian with consent of the other guardian, if any. Now, it may well be that the father is not on the scene. So, the father generally needs to agree to the change of name, and he'll have to sign a form confirming agreement to the change of name of the child. However, if the father's consent is not available, all is not lost. The mother will have to swear a grounding affidavit, however. So, father's off the scene, the mother can then swear a grounding affidavit. It's down to the registrar in the deed poll section of the High Court whether to permit the change of name or not. The affidavit from the mother must set out the reasons why the change is being sought, the father's last known address, if it is known, confirmation that the parents were or were not married, whether they live together as a family unit, why consent is not available from the father for the change of name, the last date of contact with the father, and whether the mother is sole guardian or not. So they're all things that need to be set out in the affidavit. The father's name does not appear on the child's birth certificate, well, the mother, as I say, will have to swear a supplemental affidavit confirming that there are no court orders in place in relation to guardianship, access, custody, or maintenance, and setting out what role, if any, the father has in the child's life. The documents that you're going to require to send in to the deed poll section of Central Office will be the birth certificate, deed poll, affidavit of witness, grounding affidavit of mother that the father is not consenting, and explaining the circumstances, as to what role the father has played in the life of the child, and certified copies of the birth certificate, passport, and court orders relating to guardianship, if there are any court orders. A solicitor can send in the necessary documents, and I've done it myself a few times, but the deed poll section will not accept the documents directly from the applicant by post. However, you can go in person and present the documents if you wish, or you can go to a solicitor and have him or her send them in. You can then enrol the deed poll on a publicly accessible register in the Central Office of the High Court. This is not necessary and does not change the validity or legality of the deed poll. However, for your own satisfaction and to put it on a publicly accessible register, you might want to register it. You can use the deed poll and the child's birth certificate in any event together for administrative purposes. And the National Driving Licence section, however, requires the deed poll to be registered for the purposes of getting a driving licence. So that's something that you might consider for later on in life if the child obviously is going to want to get a driving licence. The third way of changing a name is by common usage. Essentially, you just start calling the child a different name, whatever name you choose, and you can use this for official purposes. You need to show two pieces of formal identification in which you use this name. So if you're a sole guardian of a child, you can do this without any difficulty. If you're joint guardian, you'll need the consent of the other guardian. The best way, though, to get a child's surname changed is with the consent and agreement of both parents. As I said, it's not fatal if the other parent does not agree or cannot be contacted, and applications can be made to the deed poll section of Central Office of the High Court. The senior registrar will decide then, based on the circumstances of the case and what's in the grounding affidavit of the mother, whether to allow it or not. My name is Terry Gorry. I'm a solicitor in Enfield in County Meath. I hope you find this video useful. If you do, you might give us a thumbs up down below, and you might be interested in sharing it with perhaps somebody who would be interested in this, and you might be interested in subscribing to my YouTube channel.